My name is Peter Davison. I played the Fifth Doctor, and you're listening to the Fiveish Fangirls.
The tangents this week continue all the way to episode 498 of the Fiveish Fangirls Podcast. I've won awards for prattling. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls Podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like New Eric with the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
Do we lose Chrissy?
No, I'm here.
No.
Okay.
This
Oh,
is
it's Brittany.
in Salt Lake City. I did not hear Brittany.
No.
Yeah, something happened to Brittany.
Hey.
Oh wait,
She is here.
She's here.
you guys hear me?
Now we
There
can
you
hear
are.
you. There you are.
Yep.
Okay.
Dang time scoop.
Yep.
Whoops.
At this point, everything's wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. So,
Timey-wimey.
anyway,
We're
Yep.
here.
Brittany, Chrissy.
Here we be.
Yep. We're all here. That's the
Yep.
gist
Yes.
of it. Yay!
Yeah.
Yay.
For better or worse, we are all here. So
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
we are
It is a
trying.
It's a
Yep.
holiday here in the United States, and also for my children. Anyway, it's the last week of school, and
Mhm.
we will be going back to our old schedule. So I'll be able to join in.
Yay!
We'll see what the bus schedule is when school starts up again in August.
Plan accordingly.
Yep. But Alex and Lottie aren't going to the same school, and hopefully they can both ride the bus. So
Yeah. Usually they try to do that. So
yes, that's what
fingers
I've been
crossed.
told. So
Fingers crossed.
and Lottie is very excited. She keeps telling everyone, "I'm going to the same school as my brother, but we will not be in this class." Like, well, no, because you're going to kindergarten. He's going to be
Right. Don't be too surprised if she tries to make a mad dash to visit Big Brother, or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah, I am positive that the teachers and the staff they've had that happen before, so we'll see
Mhm.
we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my little social butterfly. She is.
Yeah.
We were with family.
Either
earlier
that or
today.
she's going to make so many friends, she's going to forget her brother even goes to that same school.
Oh my gosh! We'll go to the park. We'll just be anywhere. And she's like, "Mommy, this is my new best friend." It's like, yeah,
Well, that's
at the
good.
place. And I'm like, okay. Do their parents know that they're your new best friend?
At least she hasn't said the B word yet, as in boyfriend.
No,
Mhm.
no. That has not been a thing yet. Like, you're only 5, but no. So we were with family today, and so Jared's brother and their kids and everything. And so we got home. My sister-in-law texted me and said, "So Lottie asked Matthew to come play at her place tomorrow. I wanted to make sure you were aware of this." I'm like, "Well, they're going to be at Grandma and Papa's tomorrow. Jared and I are going to be at work. It's our long day, so probably not tomorrow." Unless you want to come up to... But you know what? We'll figure out play dates over the summer.
Yeah.
This was not hear about my kids' plans for the summer, but hi,
Yeah.
we got it anyway.
Mhm. That's funny. Oh my. Well, we don't really have a whole lot of news other than Chrissy's Neck of the Woods, Salt Lake Fan X, keeping up
Yes.
with the guest announcements.
I was a little shocked by these guest announcements. I mean, I guess Randy Quaid would make sense, and he actually does have a connection, however tenuous, which I'll go into in a minute. But Chevy Chase, are you serious? Like, I thought he was kind of a jerk. Like,
Well, he is, but you know,
But I'm like, but he's actually doing the con circuit. Okay.
it's a
it's-
weekend of their time to walk away with fistfuls of cash.
This is true. This is
Uh-huh.
true.
So-
There's money to be made.
Even
Although,
the most curmudgeon of celebrity would be like,
This
it's
is-
hard to
this is
turn
true.
down.
This is true, and from what I have heard, the scuttlebutt is a lot of these actors are like hurting for money, so they're either doing they're doing really dumb movies or they're just looking for some money. But Randy Quaid is a good one to get for here because he was yes, he was in Independence Day. He was the kind of redneck guy who kept talking about his
He kind of helped save the day at the end.
Yes, he does. Well, okay, so here's the thing. Independence Day, big chunks of it were filmed not far from the small town where I grew up. And so this is sort of my claim to fame. In fact, I remember, because I had a friend whose dad was in one of the scenes, and also my 7th grade history teacher who also taught drama. He's one. So there's that he's in the movie, and there's that scene kind of toward the beginning where like Randy Quaid's character is in that diner, and like all those guys are making fun of him and you know, teasing him and whatever. And that guy, the one guy comes up and sits by him, and he's like, you know, I think you're a little confused, and they're all laughing. Well, one of the guys at the table who's laughing at Randy Quaid was my 7th grade history teacher.
Nice.
So, and it was kind of a big deal because everyone's like, oh my gosh, this big movie. And like, we had another friend who he was a driver for the film. So, I mean, yeah, it's a big, dumb, scary alien invasion movie, but it's kind of got that warm, squishy place in my heart. So, you know, I'm like, I know that guy. I know that person. I've seen that one before. I've seen that place before. When Will Smith is dragging the alien across the salt flat desert, I'm like, yeah, I've driven by there so many times. So it's kind of cool. So yeah, Randy Quaid coming. Of course, also is, you know, well, I guess with Chevy Chase, you got the National Lampoon Christmas Vacation connection there. So, you know, so he's
which we just talked about this past Christmas.
Yes, exactly. So there you go. There's some serendipity for you. So anyway, so Randy Quaid. I will see if we'll get to meet him. And it'll be fun. So that's those are our.
All I know is like ages ago, for the longest time, Randy Quaid was like living in like Canada or something because he wasn't allowed in the United States because of tax reasons, I think. So
as happens, you know, it's just
he must have gotten that straightened out at some point.
I sure hope so, because
tempting fates if not.
Like they'll have the IRS agent standing there at his autograph table and like, hey, all that cash that they just gave you, it's ours now.
Yeah.
Up it over.
They could
just
slide that right over.
Yeah. Like, yep, thank you.
Here's this for you.
Here's your ticket, proof of purchase. It's just continue on the line. Oh, you can have that signed here. Here you go. And then turn around and just like, here you go. Give it to the IRS agent. Like, here you go. So, oh my. But yeah, that's yeah. I mean, Randy Quaid, he should be a fun guest, but yeah, the Chevy Chase thing, I think they might be playing with fire there, depending on what kind of mood he's in. So
I'm just gonna tell everybody who gets in his line, it's like, have your phone camera, have your take video, because I don't want to see any viral. I don't know. Maybe,
and have your expectations set very low.
Yes. Or maybe he has like a super duper really good handler who's like, Mr. Chase, please, to kind of keep him in line. Who knows? So I'm like,
I don't know. Whoever's going to be his handler, more power to them. May the force be with them.
Like, I hope you get paid extra.
Yeah, it's just in general, you know. Sometimes the celebrities that have a bit of a reputation, sometimes they surprise you.
Yeah, maybe he's gonna be like one of the best, greatest, most awesome guests ever. Who knows? I just know we've heard things. It's one of those things in Hollywood. It's like they have their their worst kept secrets. Like, oh, you know, everybody knows this, but we just don't talk about it.
Right. Or he could be Tara Reid the year she came to PopCon. I'm just saying.
Yeah. We'll find out, won't we?
Yes, we will. All right. Well, there is that. And then Disney, we got a teaser for Zootopia 2, and this is what a teaser should be. All these other things where they're like, you know, whatever teaser, it is essentially a 3-minute trailer. This is an actual teaser. We just get Judy and Nick and a new friend, and we just see them go through a bunch of various locations within the Zootopia world, which is kind of cool. I think that's what, unlike the original where we just kind of stick to like the city and then occasionally Judy's, farm where she grew up. This, I think we're going to get to see more of the Zootopia universe, different climates and different cultures and stuff. So that's cool. There's definitely some recognizable characters in there as we go through like this quick. That's like a weird them being chased for some reason, being chased by the cops, which that should be interesting to find out why, considering at the end Nick himself had gotten through the academy. So
all I hope is that it's not like, oh, look at this wonderful character growth you had in the last movie, and we're just going to throw that out the window because we need so the movie can happen. So
yeah,
but we will see.
Yeah,
that is okay.
We shall see. Yep. So I did enjoy the hamsters playing the electronic keyboard. So oh my. So, but yes, that is what a teaser is supposed to be. Not giving away plot, because essentially you just give us a trailer and called it a teaser. That's a teaser. Look up the definition of tease. Anyway,
I don't want to confuse them. Sometimes they just get a little too like, what?
Yep. And then in your feeds, if you are not subscribed to these shows, why not? Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Holly's been making some appearances, and then I gate crashed with permission last week.
Yep.
I am likely to gate crash again this week and next week. Right now, the schedule's looking good
for those.
Yeah,
permission has been already granted for those.
Yeah. But current schedule looking good for gate crashing. So yeah, I just I was just, our patrons, if you heard the audio that went up for you most recently on Patreon, and you heard my rant and raving about Doctor Who. I still had some more of that needed to be released, and thankfully Charles was like, absolutely, you can come over and play Doctor Who with the rest of us. So
there you go.
And then he shared your
nice the audio that I put in the Doctor Who chat.
Yes.
Our ongoing chat.
Yes.
Because I could not. My brain had broken, and I had scared my brother's cat. So
poor kitty.
Yeah, she's fine. She thinks I'm crazy anyway. I think it was more just the volume of the noise that was emitting from my mouth. I'm pretty sure it was noises only cats and dogs could have heard anyway. So yes, Next Stop Everywhere, Doctor Who podcast with Charles and Jesse, among others. Their episode about the Intergalactic Song Contest. You can hear me go a little crazy. And that shall continue because of said plot line. So if you're not subscribed, go subscribe. That way you can get caught up on the most recent episodes. And then over in Gold Standard territory, our most recent episode in the feeds where Nick, Zan, and I kind of, pun intended, psychoanalyze Psycho. Although it's more me that does the psychoanalysis because armchair psychologist, psychiatrist that I am. And of course, Psycho is just rife for analysis.
Well, it's right there in the title.
I know. It kind of just asks for it. So yeah, if you want to hear me go all armchair analysis on one of Hitchcock's greatest, there you go. So there is that for news, at least for now. We'll have a book club update next episode because by then we'll be in a new month. So,
Yes.
but book club is set for the summer anyway, so you can always just go and look.
Yep.
No need to vote. From Hollywood classics to wait, that one? We're watching every Best Picture winner. Join us for laughs, debates, and plenty of award season hot takes. Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast. Listen now. Oh. All right, moving on to feedback. We got some feedback from Shalane. She starts off saying she loved our episode title because it was titled What About Bob? Which, of course, is a classic comedy.
Yes.
But it was just asking for it. I mean, really. Just you put a character named Bob in an MCU movie, and it's just asking for Bob in the podcast title. So, a few comments about the Thunderbolts. No spoilers for anyone who's not seen it and doesn't want to be spoiled. She says she loved Yelena. She totally stole the show. She can't wait to see her again in Avengers Doomsday. And she thinks character-wise, she's very similar to Sylvie from Loki, and I can kind of see that. Well, she also says, I read that Scarlett Johansson was an executive producer on Thunderbolts. I'm glad Disney Marvel made amends with her after the Black Widow situation. Yes, definitely. Absolutely. So, at this point, like, really, Disney, Marvel, all y'all should know better. Seriously. You know where your bread is buttered. You know who's doing the buttering. Don't piss them off.
You know our likes, you know our dislikes.
Right.
Come on.
Like, it's like Scarlett's been around since freaking Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
She's not one of the up-and-coming, like, new, fresher faces. She's been around for a little bit. So, let's see. She goes on to make some comparisons of the Thunderbolts to the OG Avengers and how they might match up. I don't necessarily agree that she says Bucky's kind of like Iron Man, U.S. agent, obviously Captain America. I mean, dime store Captain America, literally. Yelena, Black Widow, yes, because they both came from the Black Widow program. Red Guardian, she actually compared him more to the Hulk. See that? Three was more like Thor. We'll see. At this point, it's like, as much as, I love our OG Avengers, the OG Avengers movie is my favorite in all the MCU, even after all these movies later. But at some point, we're going to have to stop comparing them to the OG crew because we just kind of have to move on. Unfortunately, I know people like to make comparisons, like people like to put things in little boxes because it makes their brain not break.
It is a knee jerk, or it's not knee jerk. It is a human reaction.
Yeah.
To something new that is in the vein of something that came before, and sometimes new Coke just doesn't you don't like new Coke as much as you like old Coke.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I understand. I am barely old enough to remember the new Coke drama. Crystal Pepsi for sure. I remember Crystal Pepsi. That was a debacle, but
yeah. Hey, I will say, as somebody who has been to Coke World in Atlanta, Coke, as far as they are concerned, in their museum, they do not try to hide that new Coke was a thing.
Good.
So it is there as part of Coke history.
They have admitted their mistake.
They have admitted their mistakes.
I mean, Coke is just a mistake all the way around. Dr. Pepper is a lot better.
Not going to get any argument from you there.
I mean, I'm partial to Fanta myself, especially strawberry Fanta.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, although they do have pineapple Fanta too, which is also really good. So
I haven't tried that.
I mean, technically those are Coke products, but
Well,
I love me some orange Fanta because that was that was kind of my go-to when I was over in Spain. But to find the one that tastes exactly like here, I have to get the Fanta Zero because it's it's got that more of a
Yeah.
bite to it.
I
Yeah,
have,
because
I have
the
discovered-
formulations are different from the U.S.
Mhm.
versus
Yes.
elsewhere.
When I visited Serbia, I was like, I discovered the orange Fanta over there, and I'm like, this is amazing. And now, yes,
Mhm.
I'm the same way. I'm like, when I go to the movie theater and they have the freestyle there, and I'm like, I'm getting Fanta Zero, and it is perfect, just
Mhm.
excellent. If I feel like I've had too much Dr. Pepper or
Mhm.
Dr. Pepper every day, because that's my
Mhm.
go. Coca-Cola just has good PR. That's it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That is true.
very true. Okay, so go back to Shalene's.
Sorry.
Hey, well,
Been a while since we've
remember,
been able
part
to
of our-
tangent as a foursome, so
Our tagline is tangents and squeeze. So
yes. Talking about Val. She even refers to her as Val. Good girl. She said Val is definitely giving female Nick Fury vibes. Yes, if Nick Fury had no conscience. I think we've already
Right.
covered that when we talked Thunderbolts.
Mhm.
She says, I really wish we'd seen how she recruited the rest of the Thunderbolts. Maybe we'll get those some flashbacks at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, we already saw how she recruited two of them, so
Right. Yeah. I mean, the rest just kind of fell into place with her plan that kind of backfired.
yeah,
Even nicely.
that's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
So then again, we never really saw how Fury met Black Widow or Hawkeye either. They were just already working for S.H.I.E.L.D. That's true.
Mhm.
Still, can Val be trusted? No. Wonder if she'll appear in Doomsday. Mm-hmm. If
Let's
she knows
see.
what's good for her, she will stay far, far away from all that.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
she should be asking for a permanent room in the boat or whatever.
Yep. Yep. And she gives us all of the stuff that's come out post Endgame in what she thinks is proper, like, chronological order as far as how events occur, I guess. So I'm sure there could be some arguments made for a slightly different order, but hey, you know. But I guess if you, like a number of us, are planning on doing a post Endgame binge to get ready for Doomsday, even if it's not necessarily in this order, this is the stuff that you need to watch. So we can put that list in the show notes.
That is a lot of homework.
It is a lot. It's a lot of homework,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
yeah, we do have some time, as Shalane mentions in her feedback. She says playing a full rewatch next summer to prep for Avengers Doomsday, especially since it's supposed to be coming around Christmas next year. So yeah, got a little time. Then she mentioned some other movies that have been released around Christmas time of the years, like Avatar, The Hobbit, some Star Wars. Yeah. If they can't get the summer blockbuster slot, then they will aim for the holiday. Anytime where people, like kids, are out of school and families are together and they're like,
Yeah.
hey, what's something we can
That-
do to kill several hours? Go to the movies.
Yeah, those times when you're like, we're together, but we're also kind of getting sick of being in the house. Let's go to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yep.
Cool.
Says she's super hyped for Ironheart, especially excited that Anthony Ramos from Hamilton is in it. That she says, happy birthday, Chrissy. A little belated, but
Thank
yes.
you. She sent
Don't
me a
you
text, actually.
Yeah, don't you girls usually talk about Big Finish releases when it's a member's birthday? Yes, it's just Chrissy
Yes.
wasn't available.
This is what happens when, you know, you've got your kids and bus schedules and work and
schedule.
You gotta
Yep.
kind of juggle a little bit, and that's
Yep.
that's what we've been doing all school year. So yes.
Mm-hmm. So
And
don't worry, your wish is about to be fulfilled.
Yes.
yes.
As soon as we
Granted.
finish with your feedback.
yeah, maybe if you didn't send such long feedback, we like the feedback. Don't get me wrong.
Well, when you have to, you're her.
She
you're
is your
big
sister. You gotta rib her a little.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I am the one. I'm the one when I tease her a little bit, she knows I don't mean it.
Mhm.
It's all good. We're
Yep.
good.
Yep. Then she says, a gold standard. I know I picked a What to Remember. It was a tough call between that and the Twilight Saga.
Oh my.
Better choice.
Yeah, at least with a Walk to Remember, it was just one movie. So
I shudder to think. Of Zan. Well, more Zan, but also Nick just watching Twilight. It's one of those things. I'm like, look, I appreciate that people loved it. I appreciate that it was this big old thing. Maybe it's something you don't bring up in mixed company.
Maybe.
There were some good parts to it. I will admit. I just wish there'd have been more of that. But never mind. You love what you love, right? You are
exactly
free to love.
Yeah. That she mentions again, since Marvel Legends is continuing on Disney Plus, I've been rewatching key shows and films like Black Widow, Hawkeye, and the Wasp. And like she said, thinking of doing a full multiverse saga rewatch next summer to lead up to Doomsday. I think that's going to be on a lot of people's to-do list, actually.
Yep.
But that is Shalane's feedback. So thank you, Shalane, as always. From Hollywood classics to controversial winners, we cover it all. If you love cinema history as much as we do, consider supporting Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast, on Patreon, because every podcast deserves a standing ovation. Find us at patreon.com/goldstandardoscars. So, speaking of what she mentioned in her feedback, yes, Chrissy did have a birthday fairly recently, so happy belated birthday, Chrissy.
Happy belated.
Thank you.
As per our tradition, whoever's birthday it is, they get to pick a Big Finish audio that we get to listen to and review. And Chrissy had, after referencing our ones we'd already done, decided to go with number 47, Doctor Who Omega, which is a 5th Doctor story, because of course, if Chrissy's going to pick one, it's probably going to be a Peter Davison story, because that's her Doctor. No surprise there.
Yes.
We'll have to say, though, Chrissy, the serendipity of you picking this particular one, and considering the bomb that got dropped on Doctor Who most recent episode.
You might want to buy yourself a lottery ticket.
We kind of called that on Next Stop Everywhere.
Well, and I was like, but mostly it was like, okay, which ones haven't we done that are 5th Doctor, that are early enough that they could be readily accessible, that you wouldn't have to drop a ton of money
right
on.
Yeah, this is
one of the earlier ones,
so it is available on Spotify for free if you have a Spotify account.
Yes.
So,
but it's also, and it's one I've been wanting to do, but I've been like, but let me do these other ones, because it's so back up, speaking of anniversaries and whatnot, birthdays. So Big Finish in the 90s, or no, this was the 2000s. Sorry, 2000s. It was like 2000.
40th anniversary.
40th anniversary. Yes, I can math 9 times. So they did like this big 40th anniversary lead up, because it wasn't on TV at the time, and so they did these, like, so they had 5, 6, 7, and 8 doing these. So they did for 5 they did Omega, 6 they did Davros, 7 they did the Master, and then 8 was Zagreus, and they all just kind of led up into it. And Zagreus was this big, drop the bomb on the universe that Big Finish was kind of creating with Doctor Who at the time. And so Omega, so they're like standalone stories, but they all kind of converge, in that last one. So it's pretty cool. So Zagreus is pretty cool. You just have to, speaking of homework, you got to have done the backstory, and this is one of them. But this one, all you need to know, and it kind of explains it in the audio, so it's probably okay, is you need to know the events of Arc of Infinity, which is a 5th Doctor series, a story that came out in, well, it was the 20th anniversary year, funnily enough. It's the one where the Doctor and Tegan and Nyssa are running around Amsterdam, but then they also get booted back to Gallifrey, and it's a little bonkers, but it's a good one. Also, it's the first appearance of Colin Baker as not the 6th Doctor, but as just a random Time Lord who's there,
who tries to shoot
the
5th Doctor.
Yep.
Anyway, so the whole thing is
you could say he was gunning for the job.
Yes, but anyway. So in Arc of Infinity, the Omega was a Time Lord who got banished to like this antimatter universe, and he is trying to get back to the main universe. He captures the Doctor by manipulating the Time Lords, and it's so he can, clone the Doctor and put his own spirit, essence, whatever he is, like take over the Doctor's body. Well, that goes poorly. Because it doesn't, the procedure doesn't get done, and then there's like a whole episode where they're just running around random spots in Amsterdam, and the Omega Doctor just starts to deteriorate, and he goes away. So this is where Omega, the Big Finish audio begins, basically, and anyway, so that's sort of the backstory of why the Fifth Doctor would be, featured with Omega, and who Omega is, and he was also in the Three Doctors.
Yep.
Yeah,
that was his first
kind of
TV
pops
appearance.
up when we have anniversaries.
Yes,
Doctor Who,
because he's a big part of the literal beginning of Gallifrey and the Time Lords and time travel and all that fun stuff.
So all of that history, all of that lore, all of that kind of stuff. It's good. It's good stuff. It's very, the lore you can kind of sink your teeth into, so to speak. And this one does that very well. And it's also one that, again, and we see this a lot in Big Finish early on, is that they really lean into the audio medium, because with the big old twist and spoilers for a 20-year-old audio play,
which I did not see. I will say I thought I knew where this was going, because they set it up. The Doctor is on this kind of tourist, space adventure, and so of course it's mostly older people, retirees that have nothing better to do, and these bittery old ladies that have to talk about all the other trips they've been on and which ones were better and which ones were worse. And
this is their life now. They're exploring the universe.
Yeah, and they set it up that part of the experience is they do like this, recreation of the supposed, moment that Omega did what he did to do his part to create time travel and everything, and of course, they got to make it all like showy and stuff to make the little old lady try to impress the little old ladies.
Yeah, think of any of those shows like at Disney World or Disneyland, like Indiana Jones, where there's the stage thing where he's it's like that. It's not, so they're recreating, but this is recreating history, and so they have these actors, and it's a little cheeky, there's some meta commentary there, but
they try to make it seem like stuff has gone wrong and it's all part of the story. So I assumed that it's like, we get the reveal that all this stuff we think is happening turns out it's just part of the show, and then we'd move along, and then we'd get something would happen, and it seems like stuff's going wrong, and we would all just assume this is more part of the show, and until it turns out that it's not, and that's not where this goes.
No, because they're in this area of space, and it's so funny. Like the tour lady is like, and look out this window you're looking out of is very much like when Omega might have looked out and seen stars that were very much like these other ones. And I'm just like, so like you're trying to make it sound more more important than it really is. Which when you're a tour guide and this is your job, of course, this is you're trying to make it, because you have all these people who paid all this money to see this place, and it doesn't, maybe they don't really know what they're looking at, and it's like it's very much like this one or something like it. Okay, so they're playing that up. So they're thinking, okay, this area of space, the universe, it's like, okay, those things are echoing through time, and so maybe they're glomming on to these actors who are portraying these parts in this historical reenactment, And so they're getting taken over by the memory or the spirit of Omega and his little guy, his little buddy. It's a Time Lords have fun names, I guess. Gotta say, all the Gallifreyan names are just they're awesome. I know I can't remember what the guy's name was. So the one guy starts going a little crazy, and the Doctor is there, and he's trying to figure out the mystery, and there's a bit where the Doctor, like Omega wants to take him and his lovely bride, because there's a human woman that I guess they're a couple now, sure, but they're going to go to the antimatter world, and there's all the sciencey, technobabble that they just kind of spout off. But murders have been happening, or all these things have been going on, and we're like, wow, how did this happen, and who did this? Well, it turns out, spoilers, that the Doctor and Omega, the Doctor, as he's talking to Omega, he's talking to himself, and it really isn't the Doctor, or it's Omega with still some residual parts of the
Doctor DNA.
Doctor DNA, and so Omega is talking to the Doctor, and the Doctor's talking to Omega, but they're in the same body. Mm-hmm. So if you were to do this on TV, you would have the Doctor, Peter Davison, or if you're, whoever's playing the Doctor at this point, is there talking to himself, and people are like, "What is that guy doing?" But all this time, you think, because we're only hearing it and we're hearing the voices, we're like, "Oh, he's talking." It's two distinct characters. And then all of a sudden, at the end of episode 3 of this,
I think it's 3. Yeah. 3.
And then here comes the TARDIS, our TARDIS, and the Doctor pops out, and he's like, "I'm the Doctor," and and there was a distress call, because Omega Doctor, or Dr. Omega, sent out a distress signal to the Time Lords, and the Time Lords, in their infinite wisdom, sent the Doctor to fix this problem and see what the heck is going on. And why is Omega out here? We don't know. He's been banished to wherever, and he's not a problem. And then you find out, because it kind of sprinkles in all these little details about what history says and what the legends say, and what people have thought about all these moments in history, and like what they think of Omega. Like at one point in history, he was like this hero, and then then the narrative changed to be he's a villain, and then it changed again, and it's so fun because they have all these great little meta commentaries, and I love that they where did it go? Okay, because I took some notes. There's this line, and fans have said this about the Doctor in the past before, about Doctor Who, and it's they don't want to know too much about the this legendary figure Omega, because it would ruin the mystique, or ruin the intrigue, or ruin your perspective of him, because yes, he did great things for the Time Lords, but then you find out, you look closer, and for lack of a better term, you see the more flawed humanity in him. And this is true of any person. We talk about, if you could have dinner with these 5 people, living or dead, who would you pick? And you pick, George Washington, or Gandhi, or somebody like that, where it's this person did so many amazing, wonderful things, and I just want to talk to them and, bask in their amazingness. And then you'll find out, and then were you to meet this person, whoever you pick, you find out, they probably picked their nose, or or something like that.
As the adage goes, never meet your heroes.
Never meet your heroes. Mm-hmm. But also realize, as you study history, when you talk about these people who did great things, also realize they were human, and, they never thought that the great things that they were doing, or that they were working on, they never set out to be this great, wonderful thing, unless they did, and then usually that ends in tears, but never mind that. But just, realizing, this was just somebody who thought, I'm going to try to make this thing happen, and whatever comes of it, and then it's wow, it changed the course of humanity, or, whatever, you know what I mean. So I love, it does some commentary, but in a way that is fun and interesting, and I love, some of the little quips that Dr. Omega has, Like, I wrote down one that's like, we both rebelled against the orthodoxy of the society we lived in. You in the name of science, me in the name of sticking my nose in things that don't necessarily concern me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, doctor, I love, it's like, when the writing is really good, this is true of any doctor, when the writing is good for the doctor, it is just, but with Peter Davison, it just shines. And I'm like, he's just great moments here, whether he's playing Omega Doctor or actual Doctor. And the companions aren't here, but there's a companion chronicle or something that explains where Nissa and Tegan are. So they are here. So this, with the Doctor being on his own, doesn't, because it kind of gets a little tricky slotting these in the Fifth Doctor's run, because he always had companions. So you don't really need, but this one where it's not actually the Doctor, but it is. It's like, it's kind of easier to just kind of, okay, it's all right. This one doesn't need to be put anywhere in particular, just somewhere after Arc of Infinity, because it refers to those events in there. But it's a lot of fun, and it's clever, it's cheeky. There's some meta commentary, and the people that you would think would be kind of like the one actor, or even the stewardess lady, who kind of, in some parts, come across as sort of abrasive and unlikable, but then they have their moments where they're like, oh, that's just people being people, and you're actually kind of an endearing character, and I love that.
Yeah, because there's this whole thing of like, these tours, because the section that they go to, this place of lost souls, is supposed to be where time is like the oldest, and therefore it's supposed to have like all this residual like radiation, psychic energy, blah blah, whatever techno science babble Doctor Who decided to use.
It's just been sitting here, and it's
so they run on like a skeleton crew for the most part. Like, they have the one stewardess and like the two actors, and then pretty much else is just robots.
Yeah,
for the most part. And like the actor, the one guy who plays Omega in the story, not for this story. If that makes sense.
The in-universe actor, yes.
Yeah, the in-universe actor. He's very much like, he probably had at some point in his life, he probably had aspirations that he was going to be like the next Olivier, and now he's doing, essentially package holiday tours for retirees. But he thinks he's a great actor, and he's not. And then this younger guy, which again, it seems like, they're because the whole idea is the psychic energy, if you're there for too long, that you start to go a little mad, and that's why Omega did what he did in the first place. Supposedly, is because he went mad, although Omega just is mad in general. Because apparently he did bad in school. That's something we figure out towards the end.
Yeah, I love when it pops back, because again, you've heard all these little legends and tidbits about Omega. And it's like, well, what's true and what's not? Well, then it has a flash having all these things, and where he got
Omega's a nickname.
Yes, it's because he got the worst grade, which is in the academy, which is Omega, which is the Greek alphabet. It's the very last. It's like, oh, well.
So that's their way of saying he bought the farm without. Yeah.
Essentially, he got the. When I was in college, we had one teacher that they, 99% of the time they were the coolest teacher, until they let us. They were very lax about a lot of things, and let us. It was a fun class. But this teacher's got a number of classes actually that were more on the fun side. But if you broke the rules or disrespected or whatever, they would not. The happy-go-lucky teacher was gone. But there was always, for as long as they've been a teacher, after a while they developed this kind of legend that at some point in one of their classes, because like I said, they taught several each semester, but in one of their classes, there would be a student that would do so terribly, usually because they slacked off, didn't do any of the assignments, didn't do any of the homework, just probably didn't show up even most of the time. There would just be that one student that just did so terribly that they would get bestowed a super F. That's what this is. This is the Gallifreyan equivalent of the super F.
It's like, that is impressively bad.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
that's what Omega means.
Yeah, but apparently the Time Academy student formerly known as Palix got a really, really bad grade. Although, I mean, the way that it sounded like the teacher was kind of being a bit of a dick.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, which, Time Lord Society.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. It's the Time Lords. But yeah, we find out that they've had like these the Pilix has had these ideas and hasn't necessarily been able to, it's all just been theory, but at some point they become friends with Rassilon, and two megalomaniac genius brains together is always a dangerous thing. And they think that they've got the ability to ignite, essentially, is it a black hole? There's a star in a black hole, something like that.
Yeah.
Science, sciencey wincy, Doctor Who stuff, but they think that they figured out how that they can create energy or whatever to be able to do time travel. And and history, looking back, thinks that Omega did it, was the first to actually attempt it and failed, but in the process committed genocide, killing this race of beings that were supposed to be just like pure thought. And that kind of, and the experiment itself didn't really work. So then Omega got this reputation of just being a crazy, mad scientist who was not afraid to, commit genocide in the name of science. And then Rassilon came along and, of course, did all the stuff to create the Eye of Harmony, which we know is what powers the TARDISes and all that fun stuff. So Rassilon is more, while they're both considered an important part of Time Lord history, Rassilon of the two is more revered because his experiment worked.
He has the good PR.
He has the good PR, but as we all know, if you've seen anything, if you've seen the Five Doctors and then seen the Return of Rassilon, David Tennant's run, we know that Rassilon is, as far as dicks in Time Lord Society, he is one of the biggest. And we in turn find out that the genocide that everybody thinks Omega committed was actually done by the Doctor accidentally.
Yes, because of, again, timey-wimey shenanigans. And Rassilon has got parts of the Doctor's brain in his genetic makeup or whatever. So he's got, so there's some shenanigans going on there as well. So it's just very much it's kind of a who's on first sort of a scenario. It's like, well, what's going on? I don't know. I don't know who's on third, and first. I got who knows. So yeah, that's what happens when you get time travel. And again, and like the Doctor, I mean, and he does feel remorse. He does feel remorse for what he did, and again, it goes back to, they had no idea that these beings were even there, because they were like, because they keep checking. It's like, is there life in this area? And they're like, no, there's not. But then they find out, oh no, there actually is. Well, it's too late now because we're going to do our experiment, and I don't want to lose out my chance when we've already checked all this. And then it just goes from there. and then you have the sweet little old ladies who turn out to be, from the even further future on Gallifrey. One of them's actually a TARDIS, and they're supposed to, keep history, history as in what the Doctor's doing right now.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell the story.
And I find this intriguing that it's X number of years before Neil Gaiman's story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
But first,
This is because apparently in modern Who, we have the idea of the time agency, but this is slightly different. This is like the celestial preservation, whatever. Like their idea is not necessarily to fix anomalies, time, somebody affecting time. It's more making sure that when people look back at history that they are getting the story that they, big air quotes, they want to be told.
Yes. It's kind of like, if you have, this is what kind of put me in mind of it, when you have like an old house that's on, the historical register or something like that, and then there's an organization, a nonprofit that is keeping that house, like keeping it maintained, and maybe they do tours or things like that, and promote that, hey, this is here and we're trying to preserve it, and so it's kind of like that, only with time travel involved. And it's like we are preserving the perception of history, which I kind of get in some ways. And it's usually older, sort of retirees who do that kind of thing, because it's not something you really make a lot of money doing. It was I like the idea of it. It's like, oh, it's these sweet old dears who are working to. It's what Time Lords do as when they retire.
Yeah.
When they retire from meddling in time, it's like, well, we're still gonna meddle, but it's less of a I don't know. It's less chaotic, I suppose.
Kind of almost Doctor Who's take on the Three Fates.
Yes, actually, that would work.
Yeah, I like, because as you were saying, Chrissy, this was released during the 40th anniversary year when Doctor Who was not on TV. We were in that weird in between, and the it's funny because this is supposed to be part of like a quadrilogy, I guess. And it's funny because I have not listened to these in order. So, because I listened to Zagreus like ages ago, which I mean, even the most, as we say, anytime we talk about Big Finish and Zagreus comes up, even the most seasoned Big Finish listener and or Doctor Who fanatic who knows their lore, Zagreus is a hard one to wrap your brain around.
And I think that's the last one in the quadrilogy, because I think it goes
but
Omega,
it's funny because in this
Davros, Master, and Zagreus. Yeah,
but it's funny is because I haven't listened to the others other than Zagreus, but in this one, at one point, like when they dock with like the cultural center or whatever, and they're like trying to get the girl on the tour, and of course they end up at the gift shop, like you do, and they're like, well, if you they stop and they get a little bit of a the commentary, and then they're like, if you follow this hologram of Zagreus, they'll take you to the next the next stop on our tour. It's just like, wait a minute, what?
Yep, because this is part of that. In fact, all three of these sort of preludes, prologues, whatever you want to call them, to Zagreus, they all reference it in some way. So it's,
but it's just funny because it's like I am being all the way here in the future and listening to them out of order, I know the reference. I get that reference. But at the time, people wouldn't have had any idea.
No, they'd just been, oh, it's just some Time Lord person, dude, whatever, cool. Yeah, when I was very first getting into Big Finish and just kind of like, well, what's good, what's that, what's this, and someone said, oh, Zagreus is amazing, so I didn't start my entire Big Finish experience with that one, but it was pretty, like, I started pretty close, and I was like, I have no idea what the hell's going on, guys. So I was like, I guess I don't need to do this one because I am so confused. And then I finally went back and did it a little bit more in order. I'm like, oh, okay, now I see what you're doing. So yeah, Zagreus it's a good one, but boy, you gotta do some legwork, some backstory.
And I think it's the longest out of all of them because I think it clocks in at almost Avengers Endgame. I think it's like 3 hours and
it is. It's almost
long.
3 hours, so it's
a doozy.
It is a doozy.
But I mean, considering what they're covering, you need that. You need that time.
Yeah, and it is definitely warranted. So it's one of those. It's like, okay, you can get.
And it's one you can't have on in the background and do something. You have to focus.
Yeah. If you're like doing something sort of mindless, like, I don't know, playing a game that's not too complicated, or folding laundry possibly, you can, or driving, although I don't know, depending on how well you drive.
Yeah.
I forget, so because when I drive, I can listen to audiobooks or audio things, and I have no problem paying attention and driving at the same time because I've kind of trained myself to do that. But yeah, so yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So that's, for any of our listeners that might be curious, at the very least, we need to do the other two in this quadrilogy before we do Zagreus. So,
Yes.
at the very least.
The good news is that the four in this quadrilogy, they are fairly standalone. Like, they don't really they don't interact with each other until Zagreus. So I mean, Omega is a good one to start with because it's a little more. I don't want to say it's like jokey, funny, haha, but it's a little more lighthearted than the other two. But there are, I mean, Davros. Is it Davros?
Yep, Davros is the next one.
Yeah, Davros is the next one, and it's like, it's, it's kind of the usual Davros thing. It's like, oh, well, I'm reformed and I'm a good person now, and I was like, but it kind of takes that up to 11, if I remember right. It's been a fair number of years since I listened to it, but it's one of those where it's like the doctor comes in and is like, this is not the Davros I know, but I'm going to hang around and see what happens. And of course, all hell breaks loose before the end, but that's not like a spoiler because
it's just like the doctor spider senses are tingling. It's like, yeah, you said you're reformed, but I don't think you know the meaning of the word reformed.
Anytime Davros shows up and says, I am a good person now, and it's like, pull the other one. It has bells on.
Yeah.
Or to paraphrase our famous scene in Princess Bride, keep saying that one, but I don't think you know what
it means. What you think it means.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Exactly.
Anyway, but no, Omega, it is one of my favorites, and yes, because it's a Fifth Doctor one, and yes, because Arc of Infinity is one of my favorite Fifth Doctor stories, and I know people don't think as highly of it, but they're wrong, so screw you. But I love Arc of Infinity. I really like this Omega story, and I love just kind of the little tastes of the lore that come through. And I just that's where I think Doctor Who is at its best. It's like when we're getting those little bits and pieces, and it's not just something I can kind of chew on and think about, not like the whole fire hose of stuff. So it's just kind of like, well, what about this? What about this? And these little hints of Gallifreyan life and society and things like that. So it's a good time. And again, Peter Davison is just on his game here. It's it's fabulous. So yes, highly recommend it. As you know, again with the quadrilogy. If you have not listened to it, again, they're great. They're wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, Zagreus is a bit of a slog, but it's worth it.
Well, right now, as we're recording this, and if listeners are listening to this about the time that this would have been recorded and released, and you're not far in the future, although if you are, hi, glad we're still our content is still out there in the far future.
And relevant.
Yeah.
Right.
That we won't get into it because we're going to talk about the entire season as soon as the season is over, but we still have one more episode of Doctor Who on TV. I say air quotes TV, Disney Plus, whatever. Whatever your chosen device is.
As the visual medium of
television. Yeah, our non-Big Finish Doctor Who has one more episode. So we're not going to get into it now, but minor, spoilers for this most recent episode, Wish World. Omega is the big one. Oh, it's everything's, I speculated this when I was on Next Stop Ever. We were talking about the Intergalactic Song Contest, that I was like, all of this stuff with the various gods with little g, and again, spoilers, the Ronnie returning.
These are things we've only been asking for the past
very long.
Yeah,
exactly. Don't think I'm not going to get on that soapbox again when we talk about this season of Doctor Who in a couple weeks.
Please,
but I had speculated on Next Stop Everywhere. I was like, it also kind of came to me as they were doing feedback, and I can't remember whose feedback it was that they were reading.
It could have been Dave, or
I think it was Dave.
Or Sandy and Morgan, one of the two.
Yeah, and it just kind of occurred to me that, holy crap, what if the one who waits, the one who's lost, all this, like, if we're headed towards either Rassilon and or Omega.
Right, and Charles is right there with you with
exactly.
Omega.
And then the Wish World, boom, Omega, and I'm like, I called it. So at the very least, getting some background on Omega and why this is a big deal, that Omega's probably coming back. But, might be a good supplemental Big Finish to listen to.
And if you have, and you might want to check out your Tubi and click under, I believe it's the third Doctor, and check out the Three Doctors.
Yes.
That is also a Omega heavy storyline as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that has our last appearance of William Hartnell as well, including Patrick Troughton and John Pertwee.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're my replacement, the Dandy and the Clown.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So if you went to brush up a little before our Doctor Who finale, the Three Doctors, hell, Arc of Infinity.
Yep.
Yes, I will always recommend Arc of Infinity. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. So it was just the fact that they name dropped that, and then I was like, I mean, Chrissy, you're like a genius.
Like
if you don't even know it. The serendipity is just like,
buy yourself a lotto ticket.
Yeah, like I said, I was just going through the Fifth Doctor audios, and I was like, well, we done this one yet? I don't think so. So here we go.
Yeah. Oh my. So yeah, the serendipity is just out of this world.
Well, I tried.
Yep. That is just a good audio.
Yes, just one to enjoy. Anyway, is there anything else we want to touch on while we're here? Or?
Not right now, because like I said, I think we're gonna come back to this among other things when we talk about the season of Doctor Who. Just
wanted to give everyone the opportunity to speak now or forever hold their peace.
Yeah.
But, if our listeners want to chime in, if you've listened to Omega or you've or you want to chime in about your thoughts on any of the Big Finish that we've done, or Omega in general, any of the Omega stories, whatever we've talked about today, please send us some feedback. Our email address is fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, which is thefiveishfangirls.com, and there has links to all of our social media where you can leave comments. We also have our show notes, and there's also a link to where you find our podcast, our YouTube channel, and also a merch shop and Patreon if you want to help support the podcast. And of course, as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for being with us on this wild and crazy ride. And we're just grateful that you're here along with us. And for at least the foreseeable future in the summertime, I'm going to be back. It's on a somewhat regular basis. So yeah, check that out. Not that you come on here for me necessarily, but I have missed it. It's just scheduling and kids and life, just kind of the way it goes.
Yep. And stay tuned for details for our upcoming anniversary. Looking that up. There's a whole new word because it's both an epiversary and an anniversary.
Yes, it is.
Yep. So it's our anniversary.
I don't know if it's the first time that's converged, but I don't know.
First time I could think of.
Yeah, I think it's the first time.
But it's cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Awesome sauce.
I better go make sure my children are happy.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it is a school night for me. I may have gotten today off, but we still have 3 more days. 3 more days.
I know. I keep telling my kids, it's like, you're almost done. You can do this.
Yeah.
And Lottie, at the end of the tunnel, you get a water party at preschool on Friday.
Ooh, nice.
Nice.
Yes.
We're having an 80s themed staff breakfast.
Cool.
How do you do an 80s themed breakfast? Do you have like Mr. T cereal?
I don't know. I guess I'll find out on Friday. So
Okay.
I'll share pictures.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, with that, we'll leave the people hanging. We will sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Bango saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Sally from Wisconsin saying good evening.
This is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. The public can't cope with history unless it's on the telly with lots of actors dressed in silly costumes. Philistines. Thank you, our Fiveish fam, for joining us on this week's geeky journey. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Stay connected with us on our website, thefiveishfangirls.com, and follow us on most social media with @FiveishFangirls. Plus, check out our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back, to see how we're making a positive impact in our community. Until next time, stay nerdy and let the squee continue.